What if every thought you've ever had is just electricity moving through your brain and nothing more? No words, no pictures, no voice, just silent signals, somehow turning into you. And the strange part is this. Your brain's doing this all day, every day, without you noticing it at all. Inside your head, there's no narrator reading your thoughts out loud. There's no inner screen playing images. There's only activity. Tiny bursts of electricity racing through billions of brain cells called neurons. These cells are small, fragile, and quiet, but together, they create your entire inner world. A neuron doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it does one simple thing, it sends a signal. That signal's a quick electrical pulse called an action potential. Think of it like a brief spark. It starts at one end of the neuron and travels to the other end. The whole thing lasts less than a blink, then it disappears. What's even more interesting is that these sparks are happening constantly, millions of times every second. While you're reading this, while you remember your name, while you feel calm, bored, curious, or stressed. Your brain never turns off. It never stops sending signals. Yet you never hear a sound. The mind speaks in silence. Every thought you have comes from patterns of these electrical pulses. Not one pulse, not one neuron, but huge groups of neurons firing together in specific ways, meaning doesn't live in a single cell. It lives in the pattern they form as a group. This is why your thoughts don't feel choppy or broken. Even though the brain works in quick bursts, the patterns overlap and flow into each other. To you, it feels smooth, continuous, natural, but under the surface, it's all timing. Which neurons fire, when they fire, how often they fire, and which other neurons are firing at the same time. That's the brain's code. Here's a simple way to think about it. One person clapping tells you nothing. A whole crowd clapping in rhythm tells you something important's happening. The meaning isn't in one person, it's in the group. Your brain works the same way. Some neurons fire very quickly, others fire slowly. Some fire once and stop. Others fire in bursts. These differences matter. Faster firing can signal urgency or strength. Slower firing can add background detail. The order matters too. A small change in timing can completely change what the signal means. This is how the brain can handle both simple and complex ideas. The same basic electrical signals are used to feel heat, recognize a face, remember a song, or think about the future. The signals themselves are simple. The patterns aren't. Each neuron can connect to thousands of others. This creates massive networks inside the brain. Signals don't move in straight lines, they spread, they loop back, they combine. This allows the brain to be flexible instead of rigid. When you recognize a face, there's no single face neuron lighting up. Many areas work together. Some neurons react to shape, others to movement, others to emotion or memory. Together, their activity creates the feeling of recognition. No single neuron knows what a face is. The meaning appears when they work together. This is also why the brain can change. The electrical patterns aren't fixed at birth, they shift over time. When you learn something new, certain neurons begin firing together more often. The more they fire together, the easier it becomes for that pattern to activate again. This is learning. When you stop using a skill or memory, those neurons fire together less. Over time, the pattern weakens. This is forgetting. The brain's always adjusting itself, choosing which patterns to keep strong and which to let fade. But electricity is only part of the story. Neurons don't touch each other directly. Between them is a tiny gap called a synapse. When an electrical signal reaches the end of a neuron, it triggers the release of chemicals called neurotransmitters. These chemicals float across the gap and affect the next neuron. They can make it more likely to fire or less likely. This step adds control and flexibility to the system. Different neurotransmitters do different things. Dopamine helps the brain notice what matters. It plays a big role in motivation and learning. Serotonin affects mood and emotional balance. Other chemicals influence focus, memory, and stress. These chemicals aren't thoughts. They don't carry meaning by themselves. They adjust the conversation. They turn signals up or down. They help decide which patterns get stronger over time. This is where experience leaves its mark. Synapses can change based on how often they're used. When two neurons often fire together, the connection between them can become stronger. When they rarely fire together, the connection weakens. This process is called plasticity. Plasticity is one of the most important features of the brain. It means your habits matter. Repeated actions become easier. Repeated thoughts become familiar. Over time, patterns turn into tendencies. Your brain isn't just reacting to the world, it's reshaping itself based on what you do, think, and feel. That means every experience leaves a small trace. Every conversation, every success, every failure. The electrical code runs on a network shaped by your life. Scientists have learned how to listen to parts of this silent conversation. Tools like EEG measure electrical activity at the surface of the head. They can detect general brain states like sleep, focus, or relaxation. They pick up rhythms created by large groups of neurons firing together. Other tools, like fMRI, track changes in blood flow linked to neural activity. When a brain area works harder, it uses more energy, and blood flow increases. This allows scientists to see which regions are active during certain tasks. These tools are useful, but limited. They show the big picture, not the details. They can't read thoughts. They can't tell what something feels like. They show activity, not experience. More direct tools exist. Brain-computer interfaces place sensors closer to neurons. In some cases, people who can't move their bodies can still use their brains to interact with the world. By thinking about movement, they create patterns that a computer learns to recognize. When that pattern appears, the machine responds. A robotic arm moves. A cursor selects a letter. This works because certain patterns stay fairly consistent. But even here, the system doesn't understand the thought. It doesn't know the intention. It only matches signals to actions. The meaning stays inside the person. And this leads to the biggest mystery of all. Why does a pattern of electrical signals feel like sadness? Why does another feel like joy? Why does awareness exist at all? Some scientists think consciousness appears when many signals are combined into one unified moment. Sight, sound, memory, and emotion merge into a single experience. Others think timing across distant brain areas is key. When neurons fire together across the brain, awareness emerges. These ideas help, but they don't solve the mystery. They describe how consciousness might arise, not why it feels the way it does. That gap matters. It reminds us that understanding the brain isn't the same as understanding the mind. We can measure signals, but we can't measure meaning. We can map activity, but we can't capture experience. And yet, there's something quietly powerful in all of this. The brain uses the same basic signals for everyone, but no two people share the same patterns. Each life writes its own version of the code. Your brain never speaks in words, but somehow it tells your entire story. Do you think there's a connection between your brain and consciousness? Comment your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.